Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Thank you as always for joining me. So today we have some awesome pictures to go over on the new 2020 mid-engine C8 Corvette. Always excited to be able to bring these to you. These are some new renderings that have come about, and so I wanted to share them with you guys in today's video. And always remember, you're watching Full Throttle Drive. Alrighty, so let's just go ahead and jump right in it and start checking out these renders. And these new renders have just come in the last day or so. And before we actually go any further, though, I want to just go ahead and thank the community of Mid Engine Corvette forum. I will put a link in the description below. This is where I get all of my information. It is a great place to get all the latest information, and I get to share all that awesome new info with you guys through my YouTube channel. But this is kind of where I digest and get a lot of these renders, and the renders you're seeing actually today are not FVS or Chazcron. They come from BDS Varvars. I don't know exactly how to say that, but he or she maybe is the individual that is bringing to life these new renders that you're seeing, and I really like them. They've got a little bit of a change from the last renders we look at, but overall, I think we're getting closer and closer. You can see a lot of the fine details that are sticking around for each type of render as we get closer and closer. I think that means that a lot of these guys that are doing this 3D CAD work and this rendering process are in agreement that some of these pieces are definitely there to stay, and less speculation. But there is always speculation that we have to some degree on this car, because until it's fully debuted at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit this coming January, we'll see. But that is hopefully when we see it debuted. But until then, this is kind of the fun that we get to have is checking out these renders. So as we look at this side profile, you're still seeing kind of that larger scoop. This scoop is a little bit different than we saw from Chazcron. It still kind of pushes up on the top part to the door, so it looks like where the door opens, you're still going to have a little bit of that overhang from the side scoop, and that's probably where that where you're actually going to be able to enter the vehicle, where that little electronic button is going to be to open the door. You can see he really elongated the bottom kind of side skirt of the side scoop that goes along the side of the body. I really like the front of this car. If this is what it's going to look like, and I do think this is pretty close, I think they've done a great job. It looks very aggressive, and one thing I want to point out, I really like the proportions of this car. Some of the past renders I've seen, not necessarily by FVS or Chazcron, but some of these other renders I've seen, they look a little elongated, and they're a little bit older, so I think people have that have done these newer renders have gotten it a little bit better, but it certainly is a better proportion in my eyes. I think the rear of the car looks better proportioned. It doesn't look just so elongated, and I think they've done a good job on this one. So now we move to kind of the top view of the vehicle, looking down on it, and this is where I feel like you really can digest the lines of the car. This just has such an athletic, exotic car looking stance. I love the hood. I've told you guys for a long time now I really like this hood. The front headlights are a little bit different than some of the spy shots we've seen, so I don't know if they just threw some in there or if they're just expecting it, not to be the same headlights. We'll see, but nonetheless, I think the rest of the car, especially going over the hood to the top of the car all the way to the back, I really like this view, and you actually see, in my opinion, and from this view, the side scoop looks better. Instead of just a direct on to the side, I feel like this gives you a little bit more depth to the picture, and it gives you a better idea of just the overall look of this car, especially from the side profile. So a really neat view right there. So that obviously is going to lead us to the back of the car, and this has been, I would say, my biggest, I don't want to say gripe, I don't want to be a complainer, but my biggest worry for the car is, and a lot of you guys have mentioned it and speculated it, that the back of the car is going to look a lot like the newer Camaros. And nobody wants the new Corvette to look just like the new Camaro. There's nothing wrong. I think the new Camaro looks amazing. But for it to have a lot of the same overlapping features in the rear of this new exotic looking mid-engine, hopefully supercar somewhat in that realm, maybe the higher versions, we don't want to be sharing a lot of the same aspects as just your typical Camaro. We want a new look. And so as we look at this one, I still see some resemblance. I do see a little bit of the boxiness left, but it looks better. You can see the rounded corners. It's not just a straight box. It's got some curve to it. The taillights definitely got a little bit of that, similarities to the taillights in the Camaro, but this is a much more aggressive stance in the back. The rear diffuser is a little more aggressive, and then you've got those air, outtakes where the air comes out from the airflow. It is just an overall more aggressive look, but I'm still seeing a little bit, as I said, of the overlap with the Camaro. And I don't know how I feel about that. I'm kind of feeling like that's not what I prefer, but again, until we see it in person, and guys, I've said this multiple times in a lot of my videos, remember that images you see in 2D, any type of image that you see like that is going to not fully represent what you see in the final outcome in person. Remember, cars look so much different usually in person than they do on a picture, on a 2D plane picture. So remember that. Take that into consideration as you're looking at that, as you're, making your decision, your overall opinion on this car. Take that into consideration. And then the last view is a angled up view of the rear of the car. I think this does look better. I think you can see a little bit more of those aggressive lines. Again, somehow the top angle really looks good on this car. It's not as wide in the back as I was expecting. Maybe the later generations, maybe the newer variations after this base comes out, just kind of like the C7 base. It's not as wide as the Grand Sport or the Z06 or obviously the ZR1. So we will see. It will be very interesting to see, but I still think the aggressive lines look awesome. One of the last things I wanted to talk about, though, in this video, we're going to talk about pricing more and more in depth as, time goes on. But guys, a lot of you worry that this car is going to be heavily priced, like $150,000. I truly disagree. I think that this car will be more expensive than the base C7. I've heard, and I think this is probably a good projection, is maybe the starting price of a Grand Sport. I'm hoping maybe, $75,000 to $76,000. I made a whole video, and I'll put the link in the description of my breakdown and analysis of why I think it's going to be the mid $70,000 range for this car. But I really don't think you have to worry about this base being $100 and some thousand. Now, there was a statement in the forums talking about the pricing of the new C8 Mid Engine Corvette from an individual that said that he had insider information. He said it started at $169,000. Now, do we know if this is true or not? Absolutely not. I disagree with him. The only truth I believe that could possibly have is if he has insider information on a later variant, a more of the supercar, possibly hybrid or the higher expense, higher horsepower variant of this base C8 Corvette. So I don't think we're going to see any type of pricing, because my biggest reasoning for this, guys, is because you got to remember, GM Chevy, they're a publicly traded company. They depend on sales. A huge portion. They know what their target individual is, and it's not the same individuals that buy Ferraris and Lamborghinis. They may have some overlap, but most of the time, the people that buy their Corvettes are just, your average hardworking, maybe a bit higher earning individuals, but they are not your 1%ers. That's not who they're shooting for. And if they put this pricing at $150,000, your average person, even someone making, low six figures that has their own business, or a CPA, or someone that might look at this car and want to buy it, they're not going to be able to afford a $150,000 car. Now, I don't know all of the variables for each individual person in that segment, but my point being is $75,000 to $80,000 is a much better price point for this car, and it will attract a lot more buyers, and they will see the numbers that they're used to seeing for sales on Corvettes. So again, that's my reasoning, and from what I've heard from some really good insider information and from people that are knowledgeable on this point and on this topic, they are, I think, in agreement with me that we are not going to see a $150,000 base price on this vehicle. But again, you know, all speculation and all opinions until it's actually debuted. But what do you guys think? I love, you know, conversing and sharing with you guys, and thank you guys so much for the support. You guys are honestly the best. If you are new to the channel and you're watching this video and enjoying it, please subscribe. We'd absolutely love to have you on the channel. We're growing each and every day, and it's a ton of fun, and I can't wait to share more and more information with you guys. I'm still working on the logistics of trying to get out to that North American International Auto Show in Detroit, because I would love to film if they do debut the car for you guys. I do have the LA Auto Show coming up in just 2 weeks, hard to believe. Share some awesome new concept cars with you from the LA Auto Show, so that will be a lot of fun. But again, let me know what you guys think on this. As always, you all take care. Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you next video.